for the Brainerd Warriors robotics team, number 2503. And Brian, you guys are hosting. You guys are, should I say, have the opportunity to host a week 0 this year. I guess just for our listeners who aren't too familiar with the event, tell us a little bit about what week 0 is and what it all entails.
Yeah, so week 0 is an opportunity for teams from our conference and actually some from around the local that aren't part of it. But I'm pretty sure that it's all of our conference teams, the opportunity to come in and basically test their robot, little mini regional. Our conference has a full field. So the day is going to start out. The kids will come in. They'll have a driver's meeting. They'll have some on-field kind of prep work. And of course, also two teams can be building their robots. We've had different levels of where teams are with their robots. So they may come and just build for a whole day. But for the most part, they want to get their robot out on the field and have the opportunity to bump into some others and see how their robot is performing.
I'm sure it's also, I noticed one thing about robotics is that a lot of teams like to bounce ideas off and give advice to each other. So I'm sure it's another opportunity to kind of bounce ideas off of other teams and kind of just learn from each other.
Yeah, I'd say that's huge. And I think the biggest thing also too is our conference, builds the field. So it's very similar to the regionals. So they can get on and they can test their climbing mechanism, their shooting mechanism, and just to see, on a full size field, how they're reacting. And also too, it's great practice time for the drivers. They can get out there and they can run around a little bit. And of course, for our opportunity to showcase it here in Brainerd, a lot of our sponsors have had a hard time to get to our regional. And so with this opportunity to have it homegrown, it's really nice for those folks to come in and see what they're supporting.
Is it the first time you guys have hosted this event, or have you hosted it before?
Yeah, no, this is the first time. Nevis has hosted many rounds. Last year was Bemidji, so I think now our conference is trying to spread it around a little bit. And, it's been lots of planning. I think everything is ready to go. So we'll see how the venue works out this year, and maybe we'll do it next year, or maybe and do other things as well. Maybe be able to support our conference tournament maybe sometime down the road too. So.
And you kind of mentioned that it will be nice to have your sponsors be able to come and see it. But what are some other ways that you're excited to be able to host an event like this?
Well, also, some of our sponsors are going to be able to see it, but for our kids not to have to worry about traveling on that particular day is kind of nice, and they can get their elbows rubbing with other folks and that are setting up an actual field, and I think that's always a pretty cool opportunity for those kids. And again, the networking that happens with the kids and helping, gracious professionalism, that motto of FIRST is definitely shown in reality for our kids too. So I think that's always a pretty positive thing. So,
awesome. Tell us a little bit more about the details of the event, when it will be going on, where exactly it's taking place, just kind of the who, what, when, where exactly.
Yeah, so it's gonna happen on Saturday, February 17th. Doors will open approximately 7:30 for teams to load in. There'll be a driver's meeting around 8:30. From about 9 until 11, they'll have just on field, so teams can get their robot on the field, can kind of connect to the field and just spend some time out there. Then we'll have some practice rounds. So we'll have practice rounds from roughly about 11 to noon. Then we'll have lunch period from noon to 1, and then matches again 1 to 3:30. And so teams will just rotate in. We kind of have a tentative schedule, but it's pretty much, a lot of times it's, teams can get right back in line and get back on the floor. And then there's not really any opening ceremonies or anything like that. It's pretty much a practice. And then teams will then be done with that at about 3:30, and then it's I believe the pits will stay open and the teams can stay there till about 5, and then that ends the day. So we'll have concessions there. We'll have mentors that are helping, so we'll feed those guys. But we got food coming in from Mickey's Pizza, a local place that teams are ordering their lunches, so they'll have their lunches there. But Riverside Elementary is the venue, and I went over there, checked it out. They have a beautiful gym. They have an auxiliary gym for our pits. People can come. It's free of charge, doesn't cost anything. You can come to the event and watch the robots compete. You can actually go to the pit areas and just kind of walk around and see what teams are doing. See, hey, there's been several years that we've taken our robot to week 0 events and had something go wrong with it. So it's your time to fix that stuff and do that before you get to the actual competition or regionals that we have. So it's a tremendous day of practice and again, showing off what the robots can do.
Yeah, and obviously to kind of go back to the hosting aspect of things, obviously you don't just show up and everything's magically ready to go. Just tell us a little bit what goes into hosting an event like this.
Well, you gotta establish the venue first. We kind of got into a conflict with a basketball tournament that weekend. So our original venue, which was going to be our middle school, was locked up and we couldn't use that. And I thought we were able to use it. So it's like, so we got the venue established. And then what we did was we had to make sure, and we have to make sure that we have enough power. Kind of have to have some rooms for coaches and, a quiet room for kids if they need to get away. Our girls are creating a girls event for just the girls. So that's kind of fun. They'll have that event along with, the day. So meeting with principals, making sure that we can actually use the venue, making sure the janitors know what we need and help with that. And also too, just that, I guess, all that, ordering food and making sure we have somebody that's going to support that. And then also too, getting some of our sponsors to actually sponsor this event. So we have one of our sponsors, Klaus Stamping, is going to buy pizza for all of the volunteers. We set up on Friday, so it's actually kind of a 2-day, 3:30 Friday afternoon. Our team will bring our stuff over, but then we'll set up the field. Our conference has about a group of about 10 that'll come and be in charge of setting up the field. We'll just be elbow grease and we'll just be moving things here and there and getting all that. Cover the floor in the gym, make sure that's covered, kind of putting signs up for directions of how robots should flow in and around the venue. So yeah, there's quite a bit of things that kind of need to. I actually had a parent meeting. Our parents were gracious enough to help with some of the things like concession stands, run that, providing food for volunteers on Saturday. And so organizing that team, or I guess parent meeting, part of that. So there's quite a bit of things into it. So, but it's coming together and it's getting close. So that's pretty exciting.
Osman, tell us a little bit more about Warrior Robotics. How long have you guys been competing at this stage? Maybe how many members you have, just overall, just team makeup.
Yeah. So we've been in existence for, I think it's our 18th year. And so we have 13 members this year. It's a little down this year. We have a very solid senior class. We've got 6 seniors on our team that are doing a great job designing this year's robots. Our mentors have been, I would say, second to none. Most of them are former teammates over the years, have went off to college, came back and said, hey, we're working in the area. We want to help you run your show. So that's been really nice. A couple of our lead mentors and now our assistant coaches, Jaden Street and Adam Schulke, are, Jaden's a mechanical engineer at Graphics Packaging over in Crosby, and Adam Schulke runs a business with his dad, a construction business. Schulke Construction, I think, is what it is. But anyways, he just loves. He originally went to school to be a welder and was on our team. He welded on our robot for the time that he was with us, and then just just loved it and is now giving back. So the makeup of our team, of course, I have also an assistant coach, Landon Brainerd, here at the high school. And God, if it wasn't for our mentors, I mean, we got kids like on every Saturday we meet, and we typically will have 8 to 10 mentors come in, even drive up from the cities that are former teammates that just love being here on Saturdays and helping out our kids. So we got tremendous support from our school district. The kids really enjoy being here. And so I think it's been a fun year so far. Last year, we kind of stubbed our toe a little bit with our robot. We put a design together, and then we thought, hey, this isn't going to work. So a week left before a competition, they rebuilt our robot. And of course, it didn't perform up to the level that we wanted. So this year they catted everything up and really had a good focus on making sure we have a solid robot. So I'm looking forward to it. So it should be fun.
Awesome. And one thing we always like to talk about on this show is just overall the benefits of having a robotics program and how in just ways it helps us students. So I guess you just kind of want to speak on why it's important to be able to offer an event like robotics to students, and then just some benefits that you've seen over the years as an advisor in offering this program to students.
Yeah, and I think the biggest benefit is our kids experience the opportunity to be part of a team. Some of them are athletic, some of them are not athletic. It's just that opportunity for those to be part of a team and have their voices heard, I think has been a huge part of the organization. I originally, in 17 years ago, Ken Rosen, who is a kind of prominent outreach for Minnesota, developing the first, community in Minnesota, got us going back in the day. And he said, you have to do this because I teach an engineering curriculum here at Brainerd High School, and it really pairs well kind of with that as well. It's a fun opportunity for kids to be able to, hey, do something that normally college kids are doing these kinds of things. Before first kind of did this would have been a capstone project for a kid in an engineering program or a robotics program. So I think, kids being part of a team and having their voices heard has been a huge piece. And they really enjoy it. I mean, it's fun to watch them design things and show their robot off once in a while to the student body here at Brainerd High School, and everybody oohs and ahs when the robot comes out. So that's kind of fun.
So. And I know one thing that's a lot of the students always bring up is that it also inspires them to go on later in life, or when they go to college, to go into something that's been kind of influenced by the robotics aspect. And it kind of just helps build skills like post high school skills. And I guess you just kind of want to speak on that a little bit also.
Absolutely. I mean, just being able to communicate and have a conversation with somebody else, even when we go to regionals, our kids are milling around with other kids and feeling that comfort level where they know their robot very well. I mean, there's lots of scouting stuff that happens when we go to these regionals, and to watch these kids communicate with one another. Of course, building the robot isn't the only thing. Our kids are reaching out to sponsors. They're proposing what we're doing. We do a lot of fundraising, and having kids get on a phone call with a professional in the area and having that conversation about, hey, this is what we do. Would you be interested in supporting us? All the different awards that could happen within, like the Chairman's Award. My gosh, they have to create presentations and present to all these other people, and outreach, reaching out to middle school kids that are in maybe a robotics or thinking about robotics, is also part of that soft skill that they're developing, and they're lifetime skills. And so when they're developing these things, in a program in high school, I think, it's just great for them when they leave here and they realize that. And I've seen it come back with my mentors, that a ton of them go off to college, they figure one way or the other, and they come back, and that's been very gratifying to see those kids come back, because you feel like, hey, actually what we're doing here is pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, Brian, before we get going, was there just anything else you wanted to say either about your guys' robotics program over in Brainerd or the upcoming Week Zero event?
Well, I just say if anybody in the area needs help with anything, let us know. I mean, we're always here to help. And I think we've got this weekend. Please come out on the 17th. And there's 21 teams from our conference that are going to be at Week Zero. So you'll be able to see a ton of stuff, a ton of cool robots, a ton of problem solving, and just a bunch of people having fun with their robots. So, yeah.
Well, Brian, thank you for your time here today, and good luck, not this weekend, but the week after.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And that was Brian Bordwell, advisor for the Brainerd Warriors Robotics Squad, number 2503. And you are watching the Your Live Event Robotics Show on yourliveevent.com.
Engineering, architecture, land surveying, environmental services. We have the experience to tackle all manner of projects. Widseth is known as a firm that is solid, agile, and versatile. And that's the kind of reliability you can expect when you engage us on your project.
They are invested in our community. They are invested with our people. They're going to create a product that's going to exceed our expectations every single time. That is why we go with Widseth.
At Enbridge, we believe sustainability is the foundation of our success. How well we perform as a steward of our environment, a safe operator of essential energy infrastructure, a good neighbor, and a diverse employer defines our success. Learn more about Enbridge's environmental, social, and governance commitments and our Indigenous Reconciliation Plan at enbridge.com.
Welcome back to the Your Live Event Robotics Show. I'm Jack. I am here with 3134 accelerators. I'm going to let you guys kind of introduce yourselves because there's a lot of you today. So if you guys just want to go down and just be like, hey, I'm...
Yeah, my name's Kaylin Jensen. I'm a junior this year, and I've been on the team for 5 years now.
I'm Haley. I'm a junior, and I've been on the team for 2 years.
I'm Cameron. I'm a freshman, and this is my first year.
And I'm Jesse Frost, and I'm the coach of the accelerators and 3275, the regulators out of Cass Lake. And I've been doing this robotic stuff for 13 years.
Not bad. And I always love talking with the accelerators. We always seem to talk to each other pretty regularly. So this is awesome. I'm super happy that this is the first time this season for us to talk. So it's really nice seeing Jesse and the rest of you all for sure. Now, this is always interesting because typically it's a lot when it comes down to the show. It's really like, hey, we're just going to talk, robots, all this stuff. And we'll get to that for sure. But this is one of the few times where it was like, hey, we really want to talk about this and what's going on. So with that being said, please tell me about the YLE Film Festival and the documentary that's going on.
So last year, the girls had an opportunity to be followed around at our Week Zero competition, a little bit in our shop here, and then at the Grand Forks regional competition by a documentary crew. Our girls are unique, being that it's just an all-female team, but there's a few more of them out there. But we're located on Indian Reservation, and our school has two teams. We have an all-male team and an all-female team. So it really kind of set us apart. So these folks found us, and they did a 25-minute documentary. It has been released limitedly already, and we've all watched it before. Haley's in the documentary, Kaylin's in it. Cameron didn't show up till just this year, so but she's going to come with us to the festival and watch. But so it's going to be at the End of the Road Film Festival in Ely, Minnesota, this Saturday at 10 o'clock. It's been a film festival up there for a few years now, but it's a way for these directors to kind of show their product and their creativeness and their ability to produce. We think it turned out really good. It's good publicity for us and our school and our community.
Okay, no, perfect. Now, with this documentary, did they reach out to you? Did you reach out to them, or how did this all kind of come together?
That was probably before most of these folks' time. We had a gentleman back in 2019, and he did some filming for us, just one of our off-season events, which you guys have been to and recorded at as well. And then I applied for and got a grant for the team to do some more media production type of thing. And so I just kind of blindly reached back out to this guy and his wife and asked them if they'd be interested in doing it. And they thought it was an awesome idea, and got to travel with us a little bit and get a little more personal and meet the students and get the full experience. So it was super cool.
Okay, cool. Now, for Kaylee and Haley, having the film crew kind of around last year, how was that? Did you really notice? Was it like, oh, there's a film crew here, or was it more like, oh, they're just a fly on the wall?
Yeah, it was a little weird to say that. There's constantly something pointed at you, watching your every move. But it was kind of fun just to see them there and them being excited about us, and we're excited for them. It was kind of a cool experience, interesting as well.
It was sometimes you didn't know they were there, and then you would turn around and there'd just be a camera right there.
Did the cameras and everything else being there, I mean, you kind of already answered, but did that change anything from the day-to-day basis, what you had to do, or was it oh no, they're just here and we just do what we got to do?
Yeah, we basically just did the same thing. Didn't really change anything. It was just they were just documenting what we would do rather than just us doing it.
Now, with the premiere, it being at the film festival thing, and you guys going, is there any other I'm gonna probably guess you guys are gonna be the only documentary when it comes to robotics. Do you think this is something that hey, maybe we should be looking at more, there is more stories to be told here, it needs to be pushed out? Or is it something hey, it's cool to happen, if it happens again, great?
Well, I think we kind of have a unique angle, like I said before, with the way our team works and our community and our school works. There are a few other ones that have been out in this kind of a niche market. There's one about the Greenbush team that happened several years ago. There was a documentary on them called Small Town Robot. There's a pretty good one on a team out of Washington State that has a pretty good documentary. But I think just seeing the sports combined with the educational aspect of what we're doing and the competitive aspect, I think it's something that's pretty interesting to a lot of people. Some of the higher points in education, where education can be fun and anybody can do it, and learning along with the competition and having fun at the same time. It's such a unique program. So I hope it spurs more people to be interested in creating things like that.
Okay, no, perfect. Now, you did say it was already released. I mean, it can where would I be able to go and watch it, or is it something just wait for and it'll be somewhere?
No, it's on the Northern Minnesota Robotics Conference, NMRconference.org. Sorry, on the website there. I think it's under events or history tab, and then it's a link directly to the documentary. So it's viewable by the public, and there's already many people who have seen it. So
cool. No, I'll have to that might be a Saturday thing for me for sure. I'll definitely check it out. That's awesome. Um, Now, how much how much behind the scenes are they actually like seeing in or is it really just like, hey, they're only able to see like week zero? I know you mentioned that.
They were around the shop a little bit. They were kind of filming when we were doing like bumpers, and then us kind of like driving the robot around in like the shop, kind of just seeing like the behind the scenes before we go to a competition, kind of seeing what we're doing in our own little school.
Okay.
They had a few shots of us packing up our trailers and stuff.
Any
A few shots.
No, go
A few
ahead.
shots when we were setting up for competition, like helping put the field together and stuff like that. Some of the interviews in the opening part of the film are done in the hallway right outside our classroom here at school. So we were thinking maybe they might be staying at the same hotel as us last year, but it didn't work out. But the girls kind of have a routine where they do the braid stuff in the morning before they go at the hotel. It would have been kind of a cool little aspect to add, but just it wasn't in the cards. But no, it's not just like watching a football game. You get some pretty good interaction with the kids and pretty candid.
Oh, okay. So almost, I mean, you brought up football game, and for those of you who watch like Hard Knocks and stuff like that, is it more something aligned to that where it is a lot of behind the scenes stuff, or is it really?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we talk about strategy in our pits, and there's really no voiceovers. It's all the kids and the mentors talking, and the actual sounds and feels of a competition when you're there. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything. If you never knew what a robotics competition was, after 25 minutes, you'd have a pretty good idea. So
Yeah, perfect. Now, how was it when you first like told the team, Jesse, like, hey, this is what's happening? What was the general response to that?
Yeah, when I first heard about it, I was kind of a little confused. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what's happening? And they're gonna like follow us around with cameras, and I'm like, that's a little weird, but that's cool, I guess. Like, I was also excited at the same time.
It was like, okay, cool. 'Cause, like, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, these cameras are gonna be there.
Okay.
yeah, they were really good people and very nice people and very kind people, and like I certainly didn't. I don't think any of the girls felt like they were invading their privacy on things or asking questions that they weren't comfortable answering. So they were really, really great folks to work with. So.
Perfect. Now, anything that, like you guys said, you guys have already seen it. Anything that and Jesse, you kind of brought in with the braid like a pre-ritual thing. Anything that they just didn't catch that you were like, man, I wish they would have caught this, or this would have made the final cut?
Well, we did do some other traveling. We did 2 events last year, plus the state tournament. So they were with us at our regional and Grand Forks. We did go to Idaho last year. It would have been cool if I know that's a great expense for them to do, but it would have been cool if they would have been able to come up out there with us, or even some shots at the state tournament, since that was our first time. I mean, it's mentioned in the documentary, and it says how we did and stuff. And there's some pictures from Idaho, but it was just too big of an ask to get somebody to travel halfway across the country to work on this film that they're doing for us. So.
Yeah, I would just say it would have been cool if they had some things at state. But other than that, I think they captured most of it.
Perfect. Now, and again, this is the YLE Film Festival. It's Saturday, so if you're able to go check it out. It sounds like a fantastic time. Now, with that being said, let's kind of get into what like and again, I always use air quotes for this, but like what your off season has looked like, because after talking to you guys last year, there's no such thing as an off season. for you guys whatsoever. So what has your non-game season been like this year for you?
We've kind of done a couple of different. A hard question.
We had a booth set up at the Beltrami County Fair, and the kids worked that. Actually, we had a building that was donated to us that we're in the process of remodeling, but we were in there, just had some stuff for little kids to do, just to kind of spread the word about this high school robotics thing. So we had people coming through, and mentors and the students would talk to them.
We're just kind of, the building that's there, we're kind of helping remodel it, so that way we can use it as like an office space and like a conference room. So that way we can do like meetings there rather than a noisy shop.
Okay.
We had an event over in Fargo that we helped set up and run and participated in with the Fargo STEM Alliance. It's similar to the NMRC event that you've been to, the off-season event, but we do that in August. We went over to Duluth in July for an off-season event that we just participated in at the university over there. Again, similar to our NMRC event. I don't think we did any other real trips this summer, did we?
No, we didn't do too many.
We had our programming camp that we helped host in Bemidji at the university there. So no, robotics is a year-round season for us.
Yeah, no, it definitely. I have to figure out a better way to be like not off season, but off season type of deal. But I have to. I'm not gonna lie. The entire time, what you have in the background, that's part of the new game for Crescendo, isn't it? That's that centerpiece, isn't it?
Yep. And
that's a part that we've been slowly putting together. One has mainly been helping with that we're using for week 0 in NMRC.
Yeah. So we bought the truss stuff, and the kids and some of the staff are helping put it together, and we use that at our events. And then we have our robots in their current state right behind the girls here too. This year's robot that we're going to be competing with here in a few weeks.
Okay. All right. So I see. It's funny. I've only seen like the videos of it, so this is the first time I've seen it in like real life. How tall is that thing?
Well, I'm about 5'6".
About.
Okay, so like 6 foot. Oh. Okay.
Well,
that's okay. That's interesting. So, you said you bought the kit, like this came with it, or is this something like, okay, you're building this part so you can bring it to, like, this is going to be what's being used?
The metal stuff on the outside, we purchased that. That's like what they use for concerts and like light shows and stuff.
Right.
And then all the other stuff we custom made here in-house, so we can bring this around. We'll probably be bringing it to 4 or 5 competitions between next weekend and the end of October next year. So it'll be at 5 different locations at least that will be using our stuff that we made.
Okay, no, that's awesome. So, kind of getting into this year and what you guys are doing right now, what does practice look like for you guys right now? Are you guys still in that building area, or are you guys, rolling around with a functioning robot at this point?
Yeah, our robot is, for the most part, done. We're just kind of tweaking some things, adding some different sensors and whatnot.
Okay, yeah, okay, there we go. Oh, look at this.
We have a majority built. We just have to put like bumpers on it, and then kind of organize the wires a little more. But I was driving it around yesterday. We have
So this goes up and down and sucks in the little ring things for this year's game off the floor, and then it shoots them out the backside. The driver can adjust the angle of it to shoot it at a different angle.
Yeah, we got the new limelight, so that way it'll be able to see the April tags and adjust to the height of it that it needs, and I don't have to like mess around with trying to figure out the right angles.
But Yeah, but that's the Limelight's a super high-end camera that we use for vision tracking, kind of almost like the military has for like target recognition.
Right.
That we have on here. But yeah, these are pretty much my 3 build girls that you just met. So they come in right after school, and some of them work till 5:30 or 6, and some of us stay a little bit later. But we had a concept going on an old chassis. It seemed like it was going to work, so we kind of copied everything over. The girls made all the stuff on the mill next door and on the lathe. We got it all powder coated, and this is kind of going to be the final iteration, probably with some minor adjustments for the.
So, both of you, like, was it? I mean, it's so shocking to me again, and I've said this a million times. I haven't gotten any better either. So, like, you're talking to a guy who can't like toast bread properly. So, like, the game was announced what at the like mid January.
January 6th.
Yeah, it's February. It's the first week. You have a functioning robot now. So like, how quick? Like, were you guys like, okay, this is how we're going to build it. This is how we're going to shoot it. Was it that simple, or was it like, hey, we had a whole bunch of different ideas thrown at the wall. This is just what came out.
Yeah, we kind of started off with a different thing. It had like an over-the-bumper intake that would fold up into a different shooting mechanism that would shoot it. But we were having an issue with the swerve modules because everyone else was using a tank drive. They were able to secure it to their frame. But being that we have swerve modules, we were having difficulty getting the motors mounted without it like hitting something. So we like totally scratched that idea and like found this one. And so it's on like a pivot. So then that way we were able to like mount everything better. So it wasn't like something in the way and getting crashed or hit or something like that.
Okay. Now, so you guys are already driving this around. You've already tested it, like grabbing the donut thing and shooting it and all that. That's crazy. I can't believe you guys work quick. So good for you guys. Seriously, holy cow. When it came to like deciding like, hey, this is like you just brought up, we had another idea, but then XYZ had an issue, so we decided this. How long did you guys decide like, hey, we're gonna try to do this first option? When did it become like, okay, no, we have to like pivot to option B?
Yeah, it was about like it was like the end of the first week, started with the second week that we kind of figured out that it was not working. We had like so many different like brackets cut out and like nothing was working. So we went on like YouTube and was just watching different RI 3D videos until we like kind of found an idea that was like one that we kind of liked and just kind of went off from there.
All right. Now, talking more about the game, how do you, for those who, like, it is crescendo. It seems pretty, in my opinion, it seems really diabolical. There's a lot of different elements to it. You have picking up, shooting, you have a hanging element, you have a placing element as well. So you have to build something that can do a lot of everything. What do you guys think of the game this year?
I think the game's interesting because like you're using everybody on the drive team this year, and you have to build something that can shoot high and mid, and then like something that can like. The tricky one was trying to get it because you have to like push in the crate over there to open, or like being able to climb onto the chain would be like. How do you do all those things with one robot?
Yeah, like when I saw the game this year, it kind of like blew my mind a little bit. I'm like, that's a lot of different things we have to try and fit all into one robot. Because like you have to shoot high, and then there's also low elements. So you have to also have like two different speeds. That's what we have on ours. Is I have a high speed for the big one, and then I have a low speed for the, what is it called? Amp. Yeah, and then I just have a low speed for the amp, so that way I can just kind of drop it in.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So, and your, I'm going to just call it the shooting arm. It almost sounds like it's almost an elevator where you could decide like, hey, it's going to shoot. The elevator is going to move this quick and it's going to make it shoot harder versus we're going to slow it up and it'll just be a little boom.
Yep, we just kind of adjust the speed of the wheels that are grabbing the thing and throwing it out. Yep.
Okay, that's so cool. Now, you brought it up as well with the hanging on, which I think that's crazy. I've seen the games with hanging, but I don't think I've ever seen them hanging off of like a chain or whatnot. I think that's crazy. But how'd you, with it being a chain and almost having to think of like, hey, two things might have to balance on it at the same time. How did you guys, kind of come up with like, hey, we're going to do it this way?
Yeah, we haven't really gotten to that part yet, but some of the videos we've seen is that's like incorporated into this pivot. So when the arm moves up and down, the hook moves up and down. So you like drive up to it until you latch on the little hook, and then like the momentum of the pivot actually brings the robot up. And we were going to play around with that. And if that didn't work, then we were probably just going to put like cute climber in the boxes on the sides and just have those run.
Okay. Now,
We want to be able to drive around and shoot stuff first. So that was like kind of our, like to play the game. I mean, for a 3-minute game, most of the time you're driving around and shooting stuff. So we want to make sure we can do that. And now we're going over to the hanging concepts.
Okay.
With that.
Okay. So you brought up the wheel choice. It like you guys said, it seems like a lot of people are going, tank controls where they're kind of stable wheels versus you have the swerve drive this year or swivel. Okay.
Swerve, yep.
So why go swerve over tank?
With like swerve, it's a lot easier to maneuver around the field. Because with like tank, you have to like back up, turn, and then go around. And with like swerve, you can just easily manipulate around things. It's a lot like easier if a robot's playing defense on you. You can kind of spin out of it. Versus like tank, they just kind of shove you until they move and you're able to go by. I personally like swerve better because it's easier maneuverability versus like tank. Especially with like last year's game with the picking placing. It was easier just to like move over a little bit rather than having to back up and like rotate yourself to make sure you actually fit.
I think for the people that don't know what a swerve drive or a tank drive concept is, I think maybe a good way to explain it would be like a skid steer or a tank itself, where you have two tracks that drive it forward or backward, and then one track goes forward, one goes backward to turn one way or the other. The swerve drive is more like flying a drone, where you can go in any direction instantly. So you can go straight forward, straight backwards, sideways, straight sideways, or at any angle of the compass. So that's kind of how a swerve drive works. It's a lot more like how a drone would fly.
No, now, again, it's early on in the season. We're a week out from, week 0, the scrimmage. Anything, be that team goal or even a personal goal, but do you have a goal for this year?
I would say just to like be able to shoot as many into the thing as possible, or kind of just maneuverability, making sure that we're always like basically constantly moving and just getting as many notes as possible into the things.
Okay.
I think we're going to have a pretty good machine. I think we got a pretty good team here. The state tournament last year was our first time qualifying. I certainly wouldn't count us out of that. But we had a senior last year that graduated off, and she was Kaylin's sister, who's been on the team for a lot of years and put in a lot of time and had a lot of knowledge. And now we have other people, Kaylin stepping up into her shoes, and then we have younger underclassmen like Cameron here who found us like right away and decided that this was something that she wanted to do. So just trying to maintain that knowledge base, and we'll keep our level of competitiveness high, and hopefully do good.
Oh, perfect. Now, I'm trying to think the best way of putting this, because it's always been really awesome, talking with you guys, and Jesse, you being mentor for both the accelerators and the regulators. When you are like, how do you guys like scrimmage with each other when you do have fully functioning bots, or is it pretty separate when you're doing stuff?
It's like usually pretty separate because the boys tend to usually fall behind in the years. Sometimes we'll kind of play a little defense on each other, but it's mainly like separate, just making sure that both teams are able to do the tasks that they want to, and then just being able to do it basically.
Now, you did bring up defense. Do you think defense is going to play like a big role? Because there was defense last year in the game, but it seemed pretty minimum. You see defense actually playing a big part this year?
I think it's more of like opportunistic defense, where it's like if one robot's coming at you, are you going to go get a note, like just kind of bump them as you go by? I don't think like many people are focused on just primarily doing it, because like you have to go across the whole field like almost every time. So it's more of like that opportunistic defense where like you just kind of bump them as you go by and carry on.
Okay. Perfect. Now, any final thoughts before I let you guys go?
I think so.
It's just always nice talking to you. It's always nice getting the word out. If people want to learn more about what we're doing, they can find my information on the nmrconference.org. If they want to check out that video, it's on there too. We're looking forward to week 0. We still got quite a few things to do before we're quite ready for that, and then figure out what breaks, what doesn't, and fix that stuff before Grand Forks. So we're tired.
No, I absolutely hear it. Well, seriously, guys, thank you so much. It's been fantastic talking to you. It's nice meeting everybody. Jesse, it's always nice talking to you as well. But for everybody else, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
A foundation forged in their grandfather's shop. Matt and Mike Martins know firsthand the value of quality machinery. At Martins Welding and Machine, they rely on 3 generations of knowledge and expertise in creating quality products for farmers, ranchers, residents, and businesses across North Dakota and beyond. To browse their full selection of bin caps, bale feeders, rock lifts, disc attachments, and more, visit martinswelding.com. Also ask about their garage doors. Martins Welding and Machine. Matt and Mike will make it right.
This is Chris from RDK Enterprises, your local precision planting dealer. Manage what you can to overcome what you cannot. Farming is all about preparing your operation to be successful when given an opportunity. Invest a few minutes and bring in your seed meters to be reconditioned and calibrated. We have some room, so give us a call and we can help you overcome those simple obstacles. RDK Enterprises, 636-2119 or planterdoc.com.
Gordon Construction of Mahnomen is a Native American-owned business proudly operating on the White Earth Indian Reservation since 1983. As a bonded general contractor, Gordon Construction provides years of experience in large, detailed, and within-budget projects. Gordon Construction is committed to the safety of its employees and the environment of its work sites. To learn more about Gordon Construction of Mahnomen, visit gcmahnomen.com or call 218-935-2191.
Welcome back to the Your Life event, Robotics Show. I'm Jack. I'm here with Brendan. He is a alumni / mentor / volunteer for many FIRST and NMRC events. A lot of stuff you got going on there, my guy. First and foremost, just how you doing today?
Yeah, doing well. Yeah, good to be on, and yeah, good to be representing the Northern Minnesota Robotics Conference.
Oh, perfect. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty of you coming back and volunteering and everything else, I always like starting with, I guess, the start of all this. How did you first learn of robotics and stuff like that? When did you get into it?
Yeah, so I was a senior in high school in 2016. There was a couple flyers up at my school saying, hey, we have a robotics team. Like, this is kind of what we do. I've always kind of been interested in like programming and in like technology and hardware. So I ended up joining the team in 2016 as a student. Really enjoyed my time there. And then 2017 came back and started mentoring the team while I was in college. It's also when I started volunteering at events, and that's kind of I've really enjoyed it. It's been pretty consistent, and kind of brings me to today where I'm still volunteering, still helping teams out, and still trying to help all these young students along their way and gain valuable life skills through a program that I found a lot of passion in and a lot of benefit in being a part of.
Okay. Now, going back, like you joined up as a senior.
Yep.
Okay. So, and it is always interesting it's always interesting to hear, and it's something you hear all the time, where it really is like once you get into it, it really is like once you take a sip of the punch bowl, you're not leaving the punch bowl anytime soon.
Yep. And that was exactly my experience with it, right? Sophomore and junior year in high school, I didn't even know the team existed. And then once kind of I got my feet wet and I kind of realized like what this thing is, I was hooked from there. And, there was no looking back after that point.
Absolutely. Now, again, 1 year of, you had your senior year of physically doing it. What did you do majority? What, like you said, it was like you were interested in programming. Were you straight up programming, or did you do a little bit of everything?
Yeah, it was mostly programming while I was in there for as a student my senior year. Helped out with some hardware a little bit more from the assembly side and the fine tuning, less from the design perspective, since I didn't have a lot of experience going in with that. And then being a part of the drive team, the actual group of students that's on the field, driving the robot and doing that type of stuff. I also did my senior year. So yeah, more from the tech side, more from the coding perspective that I was involved with my senior year, but also the hands-on with the robot as well.
Oh, all right. Now, a year passes, you're in college, you're doing all that fun stuff, but you're also still coming back. Can you get into a little bit of what was the transition like from like, hey, I'm a active participant, I'm a team member, then going into mentorship and everything else?
Yeah, definitely a tough transition at first, right? You go from hands-on, in the weeds of it to more of a supervisor, more of a guidance role. So not the easiest of transitions. The big thing that brought me back was I ended up going to the University of Minnesota Duluth for computer science. And the skills that I learned being in robotics, really coming into college, I felt like I had a step up, right? You come into your basic classes and I'm like, robotics has taught me so much, not only from, my experience with the coding perspective, but like, hey, here's how, it also does your time management, right? Our season's only 6 weeks long in robotics. So there's a lot of stuff that I learned, moving on after high school, going into, what we call the real world. I wanted to emphasize those skills going back. So it was kind of my pivot going in to be like, hey, this is robotics. Obviously, we have a goal at the end of this. But while I'm here and while I'm mentoring you guys, I want to show you how this goes beyond robotics. So I kind of pivoted from less hands on the code to, hey, we're going to do some of this code, we're going to do hardware, we're going to do business, but let's pivot this to life experience. Let's pivot this to what you can do going forward.
Right. No, and that's, again, another one of those things where it is absolutely insane talking with a lot of the students and everything else, where it is like, hey, these are the that next generation of, like, these are the people you want to employ if you are one of those big companies. And I mean, who isn't, stepping into that future, like, hey, every place needs a coder, every place needs an engineer, it's all going to be that. So like you said, so much of what robotics has at least shown to me, it's so getting people ready for the future in business and everything else. It is something really special. Now, while being, again, in college, mentorship, everything else, staying connected with not only, your high school or the past team, but being connected with NMRC, and first kind of explain that dynamic a little bit.
Yeah. So kind of starting with the volunteering, ended up volunteering in a role called CSA, the Control System Advisor. So during events and during the season, we help people with technology issues, hardware issues, stuff like that. Minnesota has really good coordinators, really good leadership that kind of helps you network with teams, right? If a team says, hey, I'm having issue with this, they contact people and they'll get someone with those technical expertise linked up with them. So kind of how I got into the Northern Minnesota Robotics Conference was, I know a language called LabVIEW. There was a team up in Greenbush that needed some LabVIEW help. So they connected me with them. I ended up helping them, through the years with like programming issues and kind of some mentorship type stuff, most all remote. And then kind of once that connection and that seed was placed with one of the teams that were in the conference, my involvement with the conference kind of expanded from there, right? So, it's all about the networking. Someone got me connected with someone in the conference, that word gets around. There's another team that's having a similar issue or with the same software or, something similar. You get connected with them, and it's the state of Minnesota and the leadership for robotics does a really good job of networking and, getting you connected with the teams that need help, but also gets you introduced to a lot of teams that you may not have been introduced to before.
Right. Now, not only that, I mean, with how it really has grown a lot as well. Are you surprised with the growth of just the robotics in general, or is this something like, yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense?
A little bit of both. So, the sport definitely is not the cheapest in the world, right? So you definitely have to get your sponsorships. You got to go out to local businesses and get your finances in order so you can compete, right? the other half of me says I'm not shocked that it's grown this much because I've seen what this program can do. I've seen how it positively impacts high school students coming out into the real world. And I've also seen the tight-knit network of really experienced mentors, really experienced programs to go out to these schools that don't have it and say, hey, this is something that exists. Here's the pros, here's the cons. Would you like to get this stood up in your school? And especially in northern Minnesota, there's a lot of school districts that have a lot of administrative support when they get presented with this idea. So, from a financial side, growing is tough. It obviously costs a lot of money, but there's a lot of great sponsors out there that do sponsor teams and see the benefit in this program. But there's a lot of good support staff currently in the system and currently with this organization that helps teams grow and flourish.
Now, graduated 2016, came back, mentor, everything else. So it seems like you went from playing to volunteering and mentorship right away. How many past or how many mentors are coming on or even volunteers that you're like, hey, I totally remember this guy from XYZ or.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of people that stick around the program. There's people who were mentoring when I was a student that are still mentoring and volunteering today. There's people that I've seen as students, through mentoring or through volunteering at events that have come back as volunteers and mentors. So, I think there's a pretty good turnaround of like, hey, you're a student, now you're going to come and give back to the program that gave so much to you. I think they do have a pretty good retention. So, and I think a lot of people's stories are just like mine, right? This program, helped me along the way. It helped me, gain the skills that I needed to succeed in life. So I'm going to give back to the program that gave me that.
No, that's always, again, that's really, really awesome. Being in a program that not only like, hey, it's fun, we're learning stuff, but then once you're done with it, you're like, man, it was so good to me that you do want to get back to it. That is tough to find in the world. Like I'll be real honest with people, but was this when you came back? Is it something where you were like, you know what, was it somebody that came up to you and was like, hey, you should think about coming back and mentoring, or was it something that you were like, no, I'm just going to do this?
So a little bit of both. So from the mentoring perspective, I feel like that was more kind of on my own, where I'm like, hey, I want to come back and mentor this team. But from the volunteering role that I do, I was asked to volunteer at these events. So when I was in college in Duluth, there's a competition up in Duluth. And the volunteer coordinators there was like, hey, we need some CSAs, we need people, that can technically troubleshoot a robot. You fit that bill. You kind of know the software. You're obviously going to school for software. So would you like to, volunteer at this event? So that's kind of how the volunteering side started. Was someone in the organization approached me and said, we'd like you to help, right? And it's once that happened, there was no turning back.
Now, when it comes to volunteering and like the jobs you can do as a volunteer, like what are the jobs you can do as a volunteer?
Yeah, there's so many roles. Don't quote me on this. I believe an event to run during the season needs about 200 volunteers to run the event. And it's such a wide range. So you have the spot, that I'm in where, it's nice to have the technical background, the coding or the hardware troubleshooting and stuff like that. But there's also roles like field reset. There's roles like, making sure teams get to the field on time. There's a bunch of non-technical roles. There's a handful of technical roles that they like the people in those roles to have a little bit of experience with it. But there are plenty of volunteer roles that you don't need any experience. It could be the first competition you've ever attended, right? With no background, no knowledge of it. And the people running these events can find a spot for you and can find a spot that you can succeed at volunteering at these events. Obviously, my background is from a technical perspective, but that's not the only volunteering positions at these events. It's so much more. There's a spot for everyone.
Oh, perfect. I mean, besides the volunteering position that you're in, is there another one that you would want to do that's like, you know what, that actually kind of sounds like fun. I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah. So there's one called the robot inspector. So that position, there's a rule book that your robot must abide to, right? The size of it, what can be on it, how you wire it and stuff like that. It's a really cool position just for the fact you get to interact with teams a lot. So when you're in there inspecting their robot, you obviously get to have conversations with them and stuff like that. And you get to dig into the robot, right? You get to look at the inner workings. You get to see everything working in great detail that you may not see if you're watching it from the stands or doing a different volunteering role. And looking at some of these teams' robots, it's fascinating what these students can come up with. And how they achieve the objective of the game. And you're like, wow, I would have never thought about doing it in that way. And it's amazing all the different solutions there are to the one problem they're trying to tackle.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing that just absolutely amazes me, where it's like, all right, it's a problem, but it's not 2 + 2 = 4. It's okay, they're gonna find like a billion different ways to doing it, or like, oh, they look almost identical, but this robot does this thing where this one does this thing, and they had to do it a completely different way. Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. Now, volunteering schedule for you, I mean, do you already know like, hey, I'm going to this event, or is it like, I'll know when I know?
Yeah, so at least for the ones during the season, Minnesota has about 5 or 6 events. They have 2 in Duluth. There's 1 in Grand Forks, North Dakota. So yeah, right on the border. So pretty much Minnesota there. They have 1 in St. Cloud and 1 in Minneapolis. Those dates are published pretty early, so I can judge like, hey, I know I'm gonna want to go to this event, and that's gonna be this weekend. And then there's something called off-season events, which the different robotics conferences or different teams will have. There's 1 in Duluth. There's the NMRC one, which changes locations every year. It's usually the same weekend in October. There's a couple teams down in the cities that put on off seasons as well. So usually the dates are pretty consistent about when these events are, and then it's up to the volunteer to be like, hey, I want to go to the Grand Forks event on X date, right? And you have the liberty to sign up for the ones that you want to go to.
Okay, no, that's fantastic. Now, and before I let you go, what is the easiest way for people to sign up, or even to, read some more, or even find more information about volunteering or for this?
Yeah. If you go to the first website, they have all of the official events on that. You can sign up for any volunteering role through that website for the off-season events. If this is your first time volunteering, I would definitely recommend an off-season event to kind of get started. They're a little more relaxed, and there's a lot more time for us to train people, no matter what the role is. I would definitely look at the first Upper Midwest's website to kind of get in contact with someone who can get you to an event if you're looking to do an off-season event. If you want to do one in season, First's official website, you can sign up and you can pick whatever event you'd like and whatever position you'd like to get into.
Okay. Now, I said before I let you go, one last question. I lied. Last question. And you brought it up before where you said like, hey, not everybody, like you don't this could be the first time you ever heard of this, and if you want to volunteer, when it comes to like, in your opinion, what do you think the number is for that? Do you think the percentage is like, hey, we're really getting like 50 people who've been here, done that, or have been doing it since senior year of high school, or no, we're only getting like 30% of people who like, yeah, this is their first like experience with it?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the position. So like for the CSA and the robot inspectors and like the people who are running the field from a technical perspective, obviously that's a lot of return people, right? That's people who've been doing it for, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They were all fresh and they were all new at one point, right? You always got to start somewhere. For some of the less technical roles, like field reset, queuing, kind of stuff like that, a lot of the time it's new people. We'll always see a familiar face here and there working those positions, but a lot of time it's, that's where people get their volunteering start at, is positions like that. And you see a lot of people, well, you see a lot of, I wouldn't want to say turnover there, but I always see new faces, right? There's always new people in those positions. They're always looking for more people. But a lot of the new faces that I don't recognize while I'm at events are usually in that position. And I would say 50% to 75% of them on a competition are new faces. And I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you around the field before. Like, thanks for volunteering. So a lot of new faces all the time, a lot of spots that you can get into if you'd like to get into it. And just don't be afraid. There's a lot of experienced people there to help you out, a lot of experienced people to guide you in the right direction and make sure you know what you're doing. And at the end of the day, we're all there having fun, right? We're all there giving back to these high school students who've put so much time into their robot and so much time into getting ready for a competition. We're there to make sure they have a good time, and we're going to have a good time along the way as well.
Perfect. Any last thoughts or anything like that before I let you go?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, appreciate you having me on, and yeah, hopefully we see you guys around at some of the events this year.
Oh, you'll definitely see us bumming around some places for sure. So absolutely come up and stop by. I'll definitely wave at you, and you'll just be like, man, what is that big old redheaded dude just waving at me for? Hi. But yeah, no, seriously, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Always love talking with teams, and obviously, mentors and volunteers. And like, this was unique because it is very much like, hey, what if you want to give back and do all this? Like, you're a great example of giving back, staying in connection, and volunteering for something that, you found as a senior and just wanted to stay in contact with. So, again, thank you for your time. It's been fantastic. For everybody else, we'll be right back.